When we talk about AI, it's so easy to get lost in all the what-ifs and the sci-fi stuff, right? But today, we're going to look at something real. A high-stakes, real-world case study from one of the biggest names in finance, Morgan Stanley. We're going to break down exactly how they used AI to tackle a massive, and I mean massive, problem that was costing them a fortune.
Okay, so put yourself in this situation for a second. Your client asks you a super complex question, and you know the answer is in there somewhere, buried in a library of over 100,000 crazy detailed reports. I mean, where do you even start? And look, this isn't some made-up scenario. This was the day-to-day reality for literally thousands of people. Yeah, over at Morgan Stanley, you had more than 16,000 financial advisors, plus their teams, wrestling with this exact problem every single day. They were manually digging for that one little needle of insight in a haystack of data that just kept getting bigger and bigger.
So what we're talking about here is quite literally a mountain of data. Now, don't get me wrong, the firm's internal knowledge base was an incredible asset, right? It was jam-packed with amazing market analysis and research. But its sheer size, well, that made it a nightmare to use. It was this huge bottleneck for their teams.
And the cost? Oh, it was immense. Think about it. Thousands of hours of time from some of your smartest, most highly paid employees just searching, just looking for stuff. That's all time they weren't spending with clients, building those crucial relationships, or thinking about strategy. It was just a massive, massive drain on everything.
So what did Morgan Stanley do? They decided to build a solution. And this is key. They didn't just grab some off-the-shelf chatbot. No. They built a super specialized AI agent using OpenAI's GPT-4, and they designed it to do one very specific job and do it perfectly.
Okay, and the most important word here, exclusively. This AI was not trained on the wild, wild west of the open internet. Nope. It was a completely closed system. It only knows what's inside Morgan Stanley's own trusted, fact-checked library of documents. And why does that matter? Because it slashes the risk of mistakes or those weird AI hallucinations. And in finance, that's not just important, it's everything.
So how does it actually work in practice? It's pretty slick. An advisor can just type in a normal question, plain English, like, hey, what's our firm's latest take on the European electric vehicle market? And then, boom, the AI scans all 100,000 documents in seconds, pulls together all the key points into a perfect summary, and get this, it even drafts an email to send to the client. And it includes all the links back to the original reports so you can check its work.
Okay, but this raises a huge, huge question, right? Is this safe? I mean, we're talking about an industry built on trust and accuracy. How do you make sure the human is still in charge? Well, this was absolutely central to how they designed it. The whole point was to build an assistant, a co-pilot, not an autopilot.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. The AI's job is to suggest insights and show you where it got the info, but it's always, always the human advisor who has to verify it and make the final call. It's not making decisions on its own, it's not acting alone. It's an incredibly powerful co-pilot for sure, but the human is always the one flying the plane.
And really, this quote just says it all. The final judgment, the final recommendation to a client, that stays right where it belongs, with the human expert. The AI is there to make them better, faster, smarter. It doesn't replace their judgment. This is a story about augmentation, not automation.
Okay, so they had the right problem. They had strong safety controls in place. So what happened? What was the actual impact? Well, the results were, to put it mildly, absolutely dramatic.
The change here is just staggering. You're going from a manual search that could take hours, sometimes even days, to an answer synthesized by AI in a matter of seconds. And it's not just faster, the quality is better. Instead of maybe missing a crucial report, the advisor now gets a complete, comprehensive answer with all the sources attached every single time. And that kind of efficiency gain, well, it has a direct impact on the bottom line. We're talking about saving millions of dollars in wasted employee time. But even more important than that, it freed up their advisors to do what they're actually there to do, serve their clients and give them that high-level strategic advice. Okay, the results are obviously impressive, but it makes you ask, why did this project work so well when we hear about so many corporate AI projects that just fizzle out? The secret, it turns out, is in a few really smart, critical decisions they made right at the start.
First off, they picked a perfectly defined task. Not solve world hunger, but find and synthesize information. Super specific. Second, they use that closed, trusted data set. No internet chaos, no unreliable sources.
just their own good stuff. And third, because this is finance, the stakes are incredibly high. Accuracy is everything, so the payoff for getting this exactly right was just enormous.
And really, this is the core lesson right here. They didn't set out to build an AI that could do everything under the sun. Instead, they built an AI that could do one super important thing perfectly. It's just a masterclass in how to be strategic and focused.
So what Morgan Stanley did here is really a powerful blueprint for others. They took their own personal mountain of data and turned it from a huge liability into a massive strategic advantage. And it really makes you wonder, right? From law to medicine to scientific research, pretty much every industry has its own data mountain. So the big question is, which one is next?